120 seconds. 110 seconds. 100 seconds. 90 seconds. 80 seconds. 70 seconds. 60 seconds. 50 seconds. 40 seconds. 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Oh, yeah. All right, my friends, once again, it is indeed time to get our talk on. Jay Hogarth in the background. In Studio 1A, we have Cacique online. We got the one and only Dr. Bowen. So, Talk Champions are here. You all out there are here. Jay's here. Everybody's here. So, let's get started. Let's start off with Cacique. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Stan, good morning, and good morning to Dr. Maya and to all our listeners and viewers. Grand Rising family, let's make it happen today.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Bowen in the house.
To the scene that makes a big scene. It's Wednesday, so I'm glad to be back in the seat. I know a few weeks ago I was over at a rest stop, and like the audio quality in terms of the internet connection was horrible, but it's nothing like being stationary and being actually connected and being able to hear what's going on and respond. And so I wanted to extend an apology to Cacique because I was missing some of the things that he was saying in terms of responses and comments and stuff like that. So heartfelt apology, charge it to my head. No. Yes, charge it to my head and not my heart, but actually charge it to the Wi-Fi connectivity. So it's all good. It's all good. Ready to flow into this zone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maya, and I accept your apology, and I apologize if I said anything that was out of line. That's never my intention. But thank you so much. I've forgotten about that. It's all behind us now, Dr. Maya.
I know it's more than under the bridge, but it was something on my heart that I wanted to express. So
beautiful.
Again, if more individuals could take ownership of things that were either intentional or unintentional, I think this world will be a way better place.
And that's what makes you magnificent, sister. Because that's what makes you great. When you do that, you just elevate yourself. You grow as a person, and it makes you smarter. So I appreciate it, and like I said, if I said anything, I also apologize. Thank you so much.
Your apology is accepted as well. It's all flowing into position, because I think that as we swerve into these times that are always going to be bent in different angles in terms of uncertainty, I think that having time to self-reflect on things and realizing how it is that where it is that, and when it is that you have an opportunity to make amends, that is most appropriate. I think that what a lot of our media outlets have done is glamorize individuals not taking accountability for self. I mean, we are human, we're flawed, and we do make mistakes. And so we also have the ability to actually come forward and step up to the plate, put on our big boy and big girl shoes, and make amends, smooth things out. I got spray starch and a hot iron. Let's iron out these wrinkles.
Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Maya. Thank you for, like I said, for being a magnificent young queen. That's what we do. That's what we do, man. We take care of business. So appreciate that. Thank you for being a leader and leading the way also. Mm-hmm. You covered a lot of bases there, Dr. Maya. You're showing how to do it. You're showing folks how to do it.
We have a platform. And, individuals, they see a lot of things. Back in the day, when I was getting my dissertation, I actually started a radio show, Good News. It was dynamic because I brought individuals into the studio to talk about the good news that they were doing in the city. It was one of the things that was on my heart, because I'm like, we always hear about the bad, right? I'm like, let's hear some good news. And so I asked people to explain what it is that they defined as good news, and I told them to give some examples of their good news, good works. That's the name of the show, Good News, Good Works on WKND.
Dr. Maya. I love it. Good stuff. Awesome. Good stuff, man.
Then I ran out of money, and so I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to cut this show short, but it's all good. And it allows for me to give individuals a platform to recognize their good works in the city of Hartford.
Yeah, absolutely. And that I think part of what I try to do is, like, when I bring guests on, is usually to highlight and to expose the good work that they're doing. To give them that also some light. So definitely agree with that. And so I think I had a guest planned for today, and we had a little bit of miscommunication, and she ended up being in New Orleans this week. Mm-hmm. But this is a woman that I know from Meriden. She's an entrepreneur, mm-hmm. and when she comes back, we'll get her on. But just to show people that I think that me being a small business owner, mm-hmm. It's kind of hard for me to fit in, because big business doesn't want me to do business, and then the small business, the business that has several employees, but under 10, let's say, or even under 5, 3 or 4 employees, they don't want me to do business either, because they feel like I'm taking away from what they do. But I want to eat too, so I can relate to all of that, and that's why I want to bring some entrepreneurs in, so they can talk about some of the things that they do, some of the obstacles that they have to go through, and things like that. But yeah, I definitely, really enjoy that part of the program when we get to either have a guest on or talk about somebody who's doing some really magnificent work in the community, or even somewhere else, something that maybe we can share with our viewers that and maybe be bought here, something that's really good somewhere else and be bought here. I really enjoy that part of the show.
The small business person. Yeah, everyone I guess wants to put you out of business for their own sake.
Yeah. When you're right, but there's a lot of businesses that are individual, and that's becoming. And see, that's the thing that I was trying to get at when we were talking about earlier. When I said to Dr. Maya, a lot of people just don't want to work now. They left their job, and they're doing what I'm doing. They're trying to create their own little thing. Their little niche, whether it's a hobby or a dream that they had. They finally want to make a move on. I think that a lot of things are different. The other thing that's very different, and I think is going to become more commonplace, is the work from home. I think the companies and the big insurance companies and big business like that is realizing that if they can have people do their work from home, they save a lot of money.
Absolutely.
So
I think though that I don't think I think I'm hearing what you're saying, but I just want to make sure. You don't mean that people don't want to work. They don't want to work for a corporate or some oppressive entity, because they're still working. They're just working. So it's not like people don't want to work. They don't want to work any longer under the old model of oppressive, top-down kind of we own you mentality.
Yes, very much something along those lines. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
It feels great, man. I tell people, listen, Stan, I'm 63.
Mm-hmm.
Been working since I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
I retired from Hartford, and then I worked in New Britain for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then I did something else for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up now working for myself. It's the most gratifying thing I've ever done. I worked for somebody else my whole life, gave them all my intellect, my physical, gave them everything, and just ended up with absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
Didn't save a dime, had nothing. Then I go into business for myself, and I've had great success, and it's very gratifying. When you build something from the ground up and you see it flourish, it's very good. So I encourage everyone, but especially our young people that are coming out of high school and college, please think about building, inventing, creating something for yourself. It's the best thing you'll ever do, and you'll never work a day.
Absolutely.
Because it's like they say, when you do what you love, you're not working. You're just
Amen
having a
to
good
that.
time, man.
Oh yeah.
So, yes, absolutely.
I see like this dynamic changing with individuals taking on more at-home work opportunities, becoming something that can shift how it is that the businesses that are currently standing in downtown Hartford and other areas by converting those buildings from office spaces to home, residential, right? So it becomes a purposeful type of shift where it is that we need more housing. However, the dynamic where if that housing is not affordable for individuals, that's where that shift is going to be detrimental to individuals that can't afford to actually go into those converted office spaces. So it's a weird dynamic going on here where we know that we have a homeless issue. We know that the shift in dynamics of work from home is becoming highly valued by employees, but at the same time, they have what's called upskilling in terms of a concept where individuals need to take steps towards building up their skill sets in different areas in order to be more marketable to employers so that it is that they can too work from home. So instead of doing the physical labor aspect of many of the jobs, they're utilizing their brain power, their brain capacity to be able to solve whatever problems within the roles that they get as a work from home employee. So the question becomes, how many Hartford residents are positioning themselves to upskill and be able to actually work from home so that it is that they can earn a pretty decent salary.
Well, I think that a lot of people who there's a lot of people who can work from home, but I think there's a transition. So if you're working from home, you're still working for somebody. If you're working for yourself, you could be working from home, but I think your question is a really good question, and I think the answer to it is something that most people try to avoid, because then you have to do a deep dive into a whole lot of systems that have failed. If you consider, depending upon the data, that 41% upward to 61% of the adults in Hartford are functionally illiterate, it's hard to upscale in terms of getting involved with a lot of the things you need if you can't read. So, that is something that has to be attacked, addressed, and rectified. It can be, but it will never be if we don't talk about it.
Just want to throw this question in here real quick. It's a real question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the salaries of teachers should be incumbent on partly on the figures that you gave, right? But the point that I want to make here, which is to kind of stay on with Dr. Maya, is what we started talking about earlier. And I mentioned this on the program before. But there has to be better opportunities that are real and are doable immediately for small, really, really small businesses and crafts people. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The baseball stadium, once or twice a week, should be a flea market for vendors to go in there and sell their stuff. It's good for the city. It's good for the vendors. It's good for downtown, because now all the downtown people on their lunch break or whatever can come down there throughout the day and check out, what people have to sell, things that we make with our hands. I would love to sell my cannabis and all the chest thing. I have two businesses. All the chest things that I offer in a flea market like that. You know what I'm saying? Once a week. And I said it before. It's a leader from the community, somebody like Kamora Harrington, and others should be kind of leading that effort, to make that happen.
Well, I think that's absolute. I mean, that absolutely can be done. That's a matter of
coordination.
It's not even coordination. It's a political decision for someone to say yes.
Let's make it happen.
The
idea has been put forth on this program a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay Stan, when you become mayor, please entertain that.
Well, I will absolutely entertain that when I become mayor, because it's very, very doable. But
think about all the positives that I mentioned.
But
generate revenue for city and city vendors, people who live in the city.
I don't think it's a hard sell.
Well, give first dibs.
Mm-hmm.
And they get a percentage of city vendors, but we want everybody to have an opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's a great idea. It doesn't have to be sold. It needs to be acted upon. So whoever the powers that be, I mean, it could be done right now. It could be done right now. But I think some of the things that both of you were talking about. There's a lot of different things on the table. The housing that's affordable, housing for those who are homeless, the homeless issue, if you have, and then you have housing for those, a need for housing for people who can afford but can't afford the prices of the housing downtown. And
that's because Stan, and I'm sorry to interject so brusquely, man, but we have to define what the hell affordable housing means.
Well, that's what we're getting toward, Lou. Or Cacique.
Yes, we have to do that.
Right.
So affordable housing to me means that a working mom with 3 kids by herself can afford a 3 bedroom apartment comfortably. And if that means $400 a month, that's what it is.
Well,
that's affordable housing.
Okay, all right.
Can't let other people put a definition on it.
That's affordable to that person. Now, you are in business. You sell chess pieces.
Yes.
Affordable for me is a nice new bone chess place for about $10. Now, you can't make money with that.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, if you're in the housing business, if you build houses, unless someone's going to underwrite and supplement your housing, then those housing costs have to be borne by you. Now, we have affordable housing downtown because the affordable housing downtown has been underwritten by, government agencies is handing out money. So I understand all that, but my point is, all of the affordable housing doesn't have to be downtown. There's other places to put housing. I mean,
we need to use a different math to decide what's affordable. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about.
You just said what was affordable.
Well, I'll give you an example of another way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Say Dr. Maya wants to build a complex with 30 apartments.
All right.
With 2 and 3 bedrooms, whatever. Now you decide.
And also, hold up.
Let me give you the
wait, because I'm gonna interrupt abruptly.
Go ahead.
The housing. First of all, we need to. There is a way to define this because we've had a guest that actually went into this, and he's building houses here in Hartford. Houses that people can afford, homes that people can afford. That's what we need to talk about, because the term affordable housing is a misnomer. So we need to stop using that term. Housing that people can afford is what it's referred to. So when
that's still tricky.
No, it's not tricky. Housing that people can afford. If you can afford a house that's $400 a month, then how do we get you into that? And also, I don't consider apartments housing. I consider it a place where you can live. Okay. So when we talk about housing and home ownership, apartments is not that. Apartments help someone else get rich at your expense.
Okay.
And they're pumping people into all those things downtown. Those are all rentals. All of those are rentals.
So let's talk about that, Stan.
Right. And then affordable housing, or housing that people can afford, is a way you grow your community, you empower people economically. And there are housing that's being built in the north end of Hartford right now. There's a lot of people trying to even stop this forward move from happening, that are affordable, where people can afford to move into them. And that, I think, is what we need to talk about. Because if you're talking about the kind of housing you're speaking of, or homes or places to live, 3-bedroom, $400 a month, that means it's a HUD homestead, if you will, which means it's underwritten by the government. There's not a single building unit downtown that qualifies for HUD supplemental housing. So even if they get affordable housing carve out and they get some government money because they're going to make some of it, quote unquote, affordable, the people who really need that space can't move in because it doesn't meet the qualifications. There aren't 3 bedrooms. There's like maybe 2 or 3 3-bedroom apartments. They don't meet the size as laid out. So when city council people, when government officials sign off on this, they need to do the deep dive and they need to understand, because we're all being gamed.
So here's the thing.
That's what I prefer.
No, go ahead, Dr. Maya. Go ahead.
No, they're hustling Hartford in regards to what we actually get out of it, right? If it's quid pro quo, in terms of being, I get something, you get something, based on some type of exchange, then Hartford is actually being hustled. Because if we're giving out incentives to come here, and if you go down to Stanford, they're saying, based off of the Monday show a few months ago, right? they're not giving out incentives for businesses to come in and do certain things. They are attractive from the perspective that individuals are coming in and saying, you know what, we want to do business with you for X, Y, and Z reason. But where it is that Hartford, like Stan is saying, had to do a more deeper dive in terms of what is going to be in the best interest of Hartford's current residents, that's not being done, right? And so if it is that's not being done, then outside entities are actually gaining more from coming into Hartford and will eventually leave with what they benefited from, still leaving Hartford in a detrimental state, because there is no quid pro quo. There's no benefit when it is that you can't do that deep dive to make sure that the residents are actually going to be gaining something from the presence of entities that come from the outside. So that's where it is.
So the point that I was making before, and everything that you spoke about, Stan, has to do with the profit margin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we talk about. So here's what I'm saying. Say a house costs, $100,000 to build, and then the land on there costs $50,000. So you have a house that costs $150,000 to build,
Mm-hmm.
and that house is slated to be good for, let's say, 100 years, right? At some point, we have to say, we can sell this house for this much, and the people that build it and the people who sold the land, they all get to earn. But there has to be a limit on how much people can sell that for, including the land, the materials, because it's all out of control. It's all about the profit margin. In the conversation that we're having now, Stan, neither you nor Dr. Maya, and respectfully, right, it's just an observation, neither one of you spoke about people.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
People is at the heart of what we're talking about.
People have to come before the profit margin. And we cannot use the business model that we have now in any way, because it's not people friendly. It's not. It's just not.
Okay, so let's say it's totally people hostile. At the end of the day, all of this deals around people. To me, you don't have to talk about rescuing people when we talk about the cost of putting human beings on a ship to get them from the sinking water. So if people is the center of what we're talking about, to me, that's a given. It's all about people. So if people are going to be first, then we need to change our whole model and let's say, forget about money. Let's just serve people. Conceptually, that works. There's a whole series of television shows around that. Star Trek, where money is not the objective. But we don't live in that world. Money motivates everything that we do. There has to be a resource set aside. One of the viewers here talked about the cost of Buckley High School. Well, the overrun, $50 million overrun because of shortage of...
$61 million.
Right, but 61 million. But that's because of supply chain. There's a lot of reasons why the cost has spiked. Now, we're talking about educating kids. Put them in the Civic Center and give them some lessons. But that's not all that it takes. So who's going to pay for this? If the taxpayers pay for it, then everybody's going to have to sit down and come to consensus, and you're going to have votes and referendums and this, that, and the third. By the time you get done with that, people will either starve to death or die of exposure because they're laying out on the street, and we're having discussions about how, what we're going to do with them. If it was up to you or me, they'd have a place to live. By the time we could get to them from here, we walked them to come with me, and we would put them somewhere. But clearly, it's not that simple. So who's going to pay for it? How's that resource going to be generated? We could do it the old-fashioned way. What is it? The Jehovah's Witnesses? I think Jehovah's Witnesses still do this. When they build a church, all the members come together, and they put up a building. Mm-hmm. That's the cost.
Yes. The
building. They collaboratively cooperate.
Yeah, they use all their skills.
Their skills and resources, and they raise the building. We could do that as a society, like Habitat for Humanity. There are plenty of models and plenty of people who do this. The problem is, how do we get that to be done? So until we're all willing to make the sacrifice to actually go out and help build each other's houses and to help our neighbors lift up, that's great conceptually. But the reality is we have a lot of buildings downtown. Companies are not coming back to them. They're on the grand list. That grand list is what generates the tax income for the city. If there's no taxes coming into the city, those who are being supplemented by those taxes, they're not going. Where's the money going to come from? Where the resource going to come from? So my approach is keeping that in mind. I'm not lessening the other things, but there's a lot of stuff that's dependent upon this revenue coming in, and then you've got these charlatans who are taking advantage of the situation, lining their own pockets because they see opportunity to rob the piggy bank.
Well, there's a lot of things going on right now, Stan, that's happening right before our eyes, and we kind of let it go. How do billionaires pay less taxes than regular people? How did that happen?
They're accountants. As speaking in the seat of someone who has 2 accounting degrees, ask their accountants. It's based on how it is that they maneuver in terms of the tax code and looking at what happened within the business that qualifies for that. That's how they do it, right? And so where there's a will, there's a way. And so there's always going to be loopholes that are found in terms of how things are put together. But what I wanted to do is shift gears just a little bit, because your original question was related to tying in the salaries of teachers to the educational outcomes of our students. And to address that, I would say no, don't tie it into the teacher's salary, tie it into the superintendent's salary. She's the lead, or he's the lead, right, of all the teachers. And so what it is that leadership in that role, hold on for a second.
Yes.
It is that the leadership does in their role is going to ultimately be how it is that things get done, because it starts from the top. Leadership starts from the top and it flows downward. What we have here in Hartford right now is a huge retention issue, where it is that at the board meeting, you hear the explanations being given on why it is that talent management can't do what they're hiring a New Jersey-based firm to come in to do is beyond me, right? I always leave with more questions because they talk in circles. I'm like on a hamster wheel. I'm like, so where does that tie in? And then none of it actually makes sense. And it doesn't make sense on purpose, because essentially what it's saying to me is that somebody doesn't know what they're actually doing. If it is that you look at everybody that's currently staffed by Hartford Public School Systems and identify why it is that they may possibly leave, right? Because if we keep losing folks and then we're trying to fill those gaps, that speaks to how it is that they feel about the system itself in terms of the value being placed. And that starts from the top. If certain things are not, again, ironed out before it is that a teacher or any other staff member decides to leave Hartford Public School Systems, that needs to be addressed. We could fill roles, and then we're going to have seasoned professionals actually leave, so it's an ongoing cycle. Not to say that other districts aren't having it, but Hartford is near and dear to me because I was born and raised here. And so where you look at the leadership and what it is that they've done to actually get a really good understanding of why it is that individuals are leaving. If their morale is low, they're stressed out and overly worked, and yet you have HR, which is talent management, saying that they need assistance. What's really going on in that office that ties to the superintendent's position that is being missed here, right? It's a mess, yes, but messes are made, and where messes are made, they too can be cleaned up. So I don't think that, the salaries of teachers are so much the real issue. I think it's the salary of the leadership, right? They're getting paid way more than the teachers. And payroll is always going to be an organization's biggest expense. And so let's take a look at what's going on from the top and then see what needs to be done in order to adjust things as the leadership flows down to those that are being supervised, because it's there's a big gap in what's going on in terms of a lot of different things, but it's always going to go back to the top.
Well,
It's flowing down from the top. So let's start there.
okay. Well, I think you have some. I think the salary of the superintendent is like the salary of the mayor, or the captain of a ship. They are the leader of the. I think the superintendent is the leader. However, I'm more in line to hold teachers accountable because they're the ones who actually do the work and they're the ones that interface. And you may have a CEO who keeps the company afloat. Anybody that's worked for a company where the CEO was bad and the company went under would much rather have paid him double the salary if he could keep the doors open. But the people who actually do the work, you couldn't get away with putting out a defective product. If you're working on an assembly line and you kept missing putting on a major piece, I think that the CEO's job might be getting rid of those people, but other than that, you can't be putting out a defective product and keep getting paid.
We could have a new superintendent every day, and that's not going to change.
Right.
Every week, every month, whatever. But I think that ultimately, not only does the community have to hold teachers accountable, but teachers have to do a better job of holding themselves accountable. You know what I'm saying? And understanding that when you're a teacher, whatever community you work in, you are part of that community. So you're not no longer just, if you think you're just an employee, then that's you already know what the problem is. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
A member of the community.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not an employee. You're a member, like blood, because you're either gonna help that community build and rise, or you're gonna contribute to its demise.
I like that. That's one I'm gonna embrace that. Even if you don't live there, you're being welcomed into the community as a contributor to its betterment.
Absolutely.
And if you can't contribute to the betterment of the community, teaching children in Hartford, then you need to start looking for another job.
Yeah, and when the police chief does a bad job, you don't fire the mayor, you fire the police chief.
Right.
And when the superintendent doesn't do a good job, that's when the superintendent is incapable of bringing that district to the next level, it's time for them to leave. And they can come back. They can go out there and learn some new things and then maybe come back. And that's what a good homegrown individual does. If you manage to get a job here, you take it as far as you can with the skill set that you've learned, and then you go and you travel. You go to school, you do whatever, and then you come back with that new knowledge and once again bring the community to a higher level. You don't go somewhere and don't come back, So I'm tribal. Everything that I do is about tribe. The tribe is more important than the individual, but the tribe is made up of individuals. So we have to keep all those things in mind. But I just want to say one more thing about what we were talking about, because it's very important. And this is, we talk about changing things. So I think that the profit for anybody who's building anything or selling anything should be the benefit that it will provide to the planet. That's your profit.
All right, I can dig that. We're gonna take a short break. I think Dr. Bowen has to. She's got other educational commitments. Being dean now.
You need profits.
So we're gonna take our break. She's gonna sign off, and good to see you again, Dr. Bowen. And we'll see you. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. We know you're very busy, but
and Dr. Bowen, thank you for your insight, sister. Beautiful.
Thank you, and thank you for yours as well, TK. Have a great day, everyone.
All right. Yeah. All right, my friends, we'll take a short break. Let you hear the number one smash hit, Vote for Stan. We'll be right back.
Yes.
Hey, Hartford, Connecticut, I'm talking to you. We got to get out and vote. Vote for Stan McCauley. It's our time. We gotta rise up and take it back. Vote for Stan McCauley.
Vote for Stan. You gotta vote for Stan McCauley. Vote for Stan. Vote for Stan. Oh yeah.
It's more than politics than just what your social covers. And it ain't somewhere written down in bold letters. Don't just take my word for it, do your research. Think of your future, look at your bigger picture. Suit and tie, clean up, unity for the righteous. Plotting on action, hands on access. With a light source vision, door to door knocking. Guerrilla style marketing, brainstorm as a collective. Real neighborhood suggestions. Only we know what it is where we living. To make real life decisions. Move on facts, make it manifest back.
You gotta vote for Stan McCauley. Vote for Stan. Vote for Stan. Vote for Stan. Oh yeah. Look at your city. Stop. Take a look around. Is opportunity flow into your house? Are you working? Wait, can you save some money? And is your neighborhood safe? Or is it a homicide every night?
My name is Marlon E. Starler Sr. Many of you may know me as the two-time welterweight champion of the world. I'm here to tell you that Democrat J. Stan McCauley, as our next mayor, will fight for you until the last bell. Help me throw a knockout punch. Go out and vote for Stan the man.
My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I approve this message.
Welcome back. The off-air conversation is there's a reason why in radio and television you have off-air conversations, and then you hope some of it doesn't bleed over to the actual on-air conversation. Kasika in the house as we continue our morning conversation.
And you know, Stan, I just want to say to the folks out there that Dr. Maya Bowen, showed her leadership in action today when she came on. We had a little discussion, and it was wonderful to see young people, man, just moving like that. It was uplifting. And now, Stan, you know, I'm thinking about that video that you just played, and I got to tell you, I was impressed. It was magnificent. It showed you in a lot of places in the community, mixing it up with people in the community now. Did something happen that I don't know about? Are you the mayor now? Is the mayor's race over? Because I haven't seen or heard from these dudes or nobody. The men or the women running. I haven't seen any advertising. Did they give in?
I can't speak to what their strategies are. I mean, obviously I see them because there's opportunities where we are all in the same space at the same time. But beyond that,
are they showing up to congratulate you? What's the deal, Stan?
I think they want to congratulate me, but they don't know how to do so.
Their pride is in their way. Their pride. They're proud. They're hanging on. And see, that's what we call in the indigenous community, Stan. That's what we call false pride. You're hanging on to something that's not real. I think that, and this is a message from Cacique to all the people running for mayor against Stan. Do the right thing. Throw the towel in and support him. And let's take our city to the next level. Stan, after the show, I just want you to walk to City Hall, and we'll send somebody down there to disinfect it. And just go take your spot, man. Take your spot. Is yours, man. The community has willed it. Yes. Let's make it happen, man. You know, I'm just so happy, man, to be on the show, sharing information. And seriously, folks, take a look at Stan. Invite him to bring his bus to your block. Call all your neighbors out. Let them know Stan's coming tomorrow at 3 o'clock for whatever time you all decide. And then you can have a personal meeting with Hartford's next mayor. Share your concerns. Ask any questions that you may have. And he'll be there to answer them personally. One-on-one with Mayor Stan.
Absolutely. You know, that's one. That's why we have the bus. This is a mobile campaign office, and there's no better forum than the one that's held for you on your block, at your house, one-on-one with the tough questions that concern you. Because if you go to the forums, and there's one coming up this Thursday, you should go. And there's another one coming up on Tuesday. You should go to that one too.
Hey Stan, before you go on, can you let us know where those forums are going to be? The one on Thursday.
The one on Thursday, this coming Thursday, is over at Trinity College. Let me see if I can pull that up on the screen here. But the one at Trinity College is going to be the Behind the Rocks NRZ, the Maple Avenue NRZ, and the Frog Hollow NRZ. Those three NRZs have gotten together, along with Hartford Votes, Hartford Voter Coalition, and a couple of others. I'm bringing up. I'm gonna bring up the flyer here. Hold on.
Well, I don't know about the Hartford Voter Coalition, but those NRZs, man, those turn out to be some real disappointments and some real white and police apologists. What's going on with that, man? You're gonna have your hands full with them.
Well, I think the NRZs actually, you know, in terms of their real power as legislative, they have the potential for them to do great work is there, but I think with the right
I think our
vision
NRZs
and leadership, they can be.
I think they missed that part, Stan.
They can be powerful.
We haven't seen that yet.
Well, that's something I have heard from several people. Let me see. Well, let me do this. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll show you where those are at.
Beautiful, Stan.
How do you define evil? Is evil the pedophile school administrator or taxation without representation? Is it the gatekeeping community leaders who sell out the very people they were elected to fight for? Or is evil the politician that puts out lies and takes in cash? However you may classify evil, having to choose the lesser of two evils still leaves you with evil. Nowhere does this rule apply more than during an election for mayor. Choosing a candidate who is the lesser of two evils still leaves you with evil. No wonder so many people don't vote. It's time for the constituents to flip the script and vote for a mayor you can trust. My name is Jason McCauley. I am an independent thinker, and I approve this message. I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023, in the Democratic Party primary election for mayor for the city of Hartford. I, like you, am an independent thinker. So let's sit down and talk about my path to victory and why my 5-point plan for Hartford will work. Stop listening to the uninformed evil interests that tell you I can't win. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. Have the courage to vote your conscience. Vote for the name you trust and know. Vote McCauley for mayor.
All right.
Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, welcome back. Now, there it is. Oh, that's kind of hard to see, isn't it? Let's zoom in. This is the one we were talking about.
Oh, that's at Vernon Street in Hartford, 114 Vernon Street.
Yeah, what did I just do?
Just click back, Stan. No, the other one, the little circle one, next to it. No, right on top of the bar. You know, the little back. Yeah, that one. See what
refresh.
happened.
That's a refresh.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the one you.
Yeah, I went back to the I had them. Oh.
But it's Thursday. It's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
It's 114 Vernon Street.
Yeah.
And you have to come in through Trinity College, or if you park on Broad Street, you can come in through the gate there. But yeah, 114 Vernon Street. What's that time again, Stan?
5 o'clock. 5:30.
5:30. 114 Vernon Street on Thursday. It's like a debate for the majority candidates. Is a candidates forum.
Mm-hmm.
And we're inviting everyone to come out, ask questions. There it is, right there, Stan.
There it is.
5:30 to 8:30. So it's about 3 hours. Should be plenty of chance for people to ask questions, and for the candidates to really show what they have. Now, I just want to remind everybody of what Eric Coleman and John Fonfera said in an earlier debate. Both of these dudes got up there and said that they've been with the they both have about 40 years of experience, either between them or individually each, like 30 and 34, whatever.
Yeah, almost 80 years.
Okay, between them, right?
Yeah.
So they both said that they have seen their districts decline all the years that they were there. And my question to our viewers and our listeners is, what the hell are they still running for? If they haven't been able to do it in their districts as state reps and as senators, what makes anybody think that they're going to come and fix our city? They're part of the problem. Okay?
Well, maybe they want to. Maybe when they take that same decline and make it citywide.
No, we ain't going for that. I'm just asking people, why are they still running? But more importantly, why would anybody support people like these? We need to support community-based people. Stan McCauley is from the community, and I'm gonna keep saying that. These people are part of the problem. They are not part of the solution. If these people are already in the system, think about what's going on in our city and our schools. Why would we continue to vote for people that are the problem creators? They're not problem solvers. They're not bringing us solutions.
All right. Well, next Here, let me do this. This is rude. You all get to see a little bit of behind the scenes action here. We're gonna bring up another graphic here. I'm gonna bring up the lower third, 6% standby graphic, Q graphic up. That's how you would do that in the control room.
Oh.
All right. Standby super graphic up. All right. Now next page. Yeah, you talk through everything in the control room.
Oh.
Yeah. The Connecticut.
That's at the Mark Twain House.
Yeah, this is at the Mark Twain House. Now, this of course, is next Tuesday, June 27th, 2023, 5:30 to 7:30. Doors open at 5 o'clock. Mark Twain House and Museum, located at 351 Farmington Avenue. Now, this is a lot easier to navigate and get to because, of course, you don't have to like go onto the campus, walk around, see where things are. And so this is the Hartford 2023 mayoral candidate LGBTQIA+ forum. Now this is hosted by the City of Hartford's LGBTQ+ Commission.
Doing that at the Mark Twain House, one of the most racist men in America, and they try to convince us that it was just in his writings, so he can get away with whatever he wanted. They couldn't do it at the, why don't we have an Emmett Till House? You know what I'm saying? I'm worrying about the places that these, I don't think that the people involved have any sense of history and the impact that the continued images and recognition of these places has on our community psyche, man.
Well, obviously I can't speak to that, but good point. But all of the candidates will be there. Arunan Arulampalam, Senator Eric Coleman, Renardo Dunn, Senator John Funfair, Tracy Funny, Councilman Nick LeBron.
We're going to teach Nick how to say his name.
And, of course, myself, Jay Stamako. Moderated by Lawrence Samuel Young, owner of Lawrence Young Consulting. And he's the Executive Vice President and Chief of Staff at the Charter Oak Health Center. So this should be a good forum. And so should the one on
Thursday.
On Thursday. So Thursday's coming up. And the Thursday one's going to be interesting because this is going to be what I call a speed date forum. You ever been to the speed date forums?
No.
Some people don't like them. But the speed date forum, each candidate's going to get like 2 minutes. Talk about why they think they're the greatest slice of bread in the loaf. All right. And then they're going to break out into small groups. They're going to have like groups.
Yep.
And then the candidates will come and go into those groups and get real direct questions from the group.
Oh.
And then the timer will go off, and then the candidates will switch to another group. And the candidates will go through all of the groups, and all of the groups will ask questions of each candidate up close and personal. And it's always interesting because there's always a more dominant individual in the group.
Yes.
Who kind of, because everyone in there ain't going to get a baby answer, but they wouldn't be able to everyone wouldn't be able to ask a question anyway if it was just a straight forum with 300 people in the room. You're going to have maybe 10 or 15 people actually get to the mic and ask questions.
So here's a question that I have. Racism is one of the biggest problems that we have in our country, and it's behind a lot of the crimes that are committed against people of color in this country, right? And in all of these forums, I've never heard anybody talk about creating a rubric or some kind of system where we can start to identify racist individuals in our bureaucracy, in the police department, in the school system, and start to, like we talked about before, and I know you don't like this, Dan, but send them to re-educate them, and when that re-education doesn't take place, then they have to be, eliminated. They have to be fired from their position. We don't talk about that because racism is not a crime that affects white people. That's why we don't talk about it.
I don't.
But it is a crime, nevertheless. I just don't want you or the audience to forget that.
I think I think that's legitimate. I don't have a problem talking about racism. But
nobody has. Nobody has brought it up.
That's true.
Incidences and
people need to
things
bring
like that.
If people bring the subjects up at forums, then those subjects will get addressed. But to your point about, you said, I don't like something. I like what you just said in terms of the retraining and then firing. What I don't like is the idea of not terminating the person who has that's problematic.
Right. That has continued this behavior, yeah.
Right. But I think you added the termination there, because before, when we were having that conversation, you thought they should be retrained.
No, they should be, but when the re-education doesn't take place, doesn't happen, they don't make the necessary adjustments, then they have to be terminated, because then we're co-signing their criminal behavior.
What if we just give them a lobotomy? I'm just joking.
Damn, Stan. You're scaring me with that macabre joke there, man.
Well, to me, that's what re-education is. If you, I can understand where a person may be missing something because they don't have the particular information or data or whatever.
Were you watching Dr. Frankenstein this weekend?
We start retraining people. It's like think like I think. And I just have a fundamental aversion to that kind of thinking. So I just get rid of them. You're not right for this environment.
Yeah.
You need to go somewhere else where you can freely think as a racist.
Well, here's the thing about that. I had this conversation with my uncle yesterday. I think a lot of us sometimes move in cowardice, but it's because we don't know. And then once it's brought to our attention, if we make the necessary adjustments, then we're not cowards. But if we don't, then that the person is a coward. You know what I'm saying? So what I mean by that is, I agree with you, but workplace behavior is different than your belief system.
That is true.
If you can adhere to the things and do it in goodwill and in good faith, you don't have to like it.
Right.
But you carry out your duties, with respect and stuff. Then we can work with that. You could be as racist. You can go home and burn crosses. I don't care.
Right.
But
at work,
you're not bringing that to work.
Leave the gasoline, the crosses, and the white robe.
You're not bringing that to work.
You can't bring that in.
Right. And whatever inappropriate behavior we have as individuals or as a group, as black and brown folk, we need to leave that at home too.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's for everybody. Accountability is across the board.
I subscribe to that 100%. That's one of the reasons why I'm such a big constituent fan. Oftentimes you get into conversations and folk will have special classes of citizens. You have protected classes. Now I understand there are protected classes and there's reasons for the protected quote unquote classes, but to your point earlier, when you were talking about the crime of racism doesn't apply to people who are white, the protected class doesn't apply to them too, because they're by default in the protected class. They're constituents. So I want to be treated as a constituent. I don't want to be treated as a protective class, because there's a box. When you fall into the protective class, you're taken and you're put into a box.
Yeah.
And the box has constraints. You can't step out of the box now.
Yep.
And now we're going to give you this much. I want what's on the outside of the box. And that to me is where the constituent is. So it robs you of your real power as a constituent and limits you by putting you in this box under the pretense of you're going to get special attention. Yeah. No, I don't want special attention. I want the attention you all have. Not special.
Right.
The average attention.
Right.
The attention that just goes naturally.
Right.
And so that's just me.
Well, and to kind of stay on the subject, Stan, when we talk about Brother Chris Duke's case and how well it's going, and I said to them, why don't they use RICO? And I talked about this on the show, because it's all the police is different government agencies, and that's RICO. That's racketeering. They're committing crimes. They're organized. There's a leader, the head of different agencies. It could be multiple leaders. You know what I'm saying? So RICO, the same thing with Trump. I don't understand why he just throw the RICO Act on him. It covers everything that he did. They racketeers. You see how these laws are not applied to us. So what my point is that when we have to deal in terms of making changes in the law and stuff, now the people that we have to look at, Stan, is the prosecutors and the law and the judges, man. We have to look at their history of how they prosecuted black and brown versus white over their whole career to see the patterns so we can begin to eradicate that. Some people may not like that. It's going to make them look bad, but we have to do that. In order to understand their thinking, we have to look at their patterns. A person's pattern would tell you what they're thinking. You don't even have to talk to them. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at these records and we review each and every one of their cases, we can find that there is racketeering going on in the judicial system. It's easy to apply. People just have to use the law that's already there. We don't have to make one. It's already there.
Well, there's this notion that, because you have three branches of government. Your legislative branch, executive branch, and the judicial branch.
Yes.
And for some reason, when it comes to corruption, people always think in terms of, first and foremost, the executive branch is usually the one that most people think is exceedingly corrupt. But then people also will make mention of the corruption in the legislative branch. But they always act like the judicial branch is above corruption or something.
They're the worst.
And they're part of the government. Well, they're
the worst. There's the worst part of the government, Stan, because when a policeman uses a chokehold and kills someone, but that chokehold is part of their policy that was approved through the ranks all the way up to the people you're talking about, they're the ones that are the actual criminals because they're giving the police and others the power to commit these crimes. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to look at that. The laws. We have to look at the laws that are being passed. Look at all this stuff that happened recently with what they're teaching with the CRT, with the critical race theory. There are states that banned it, and they weren't even teaching it. You know what I'm saying? And that's a real knee-jerk response. That's the kind of legislature that we need to be trying to pass to make them, look like the fools that they are. Why is people like Mitch McConnell and, such terrible people like that still in office?
They're still in office because the constituents that they serve keep them there.
Right. So this is,
the power of your voice is not to be discounted. And I use the word voice incorrectly, I really should say. I do mean voice, but that's not really what I mean. Because voice is a way to express. So the power of your ability to express yourself needs to really be championed. And one way you express yourself is at the polls, when you vote, because your vote puts people into power that then make the rules. And so the people that are elected to office fully understand that. That's why in some cases they would prefer for you not to vote. So if a person got into office and they controlled all 10 votes, then they only need those 10 to vote and they're in. Even if there's 100,000 people in the city, if only 10 get to vote, then it's a lot easier to control 10 votes than it is 100,000 votes.
That's the American voting process, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. It's not the popular vote that decides.
Well, not for president. For president, yeah.
Because it's a lot easier to control.
Right. Well, they're not going to ever give you that vote. But on the local level, because to me, all politics is still local, right? You can actually make a difference at your Board of Education meetings. You can make a difference at City Council. You can make a difference at everything local, because you can go in and you can talk to these people, particularly in a town like Hartford.
Yeah, but that's almost like it's almost surreal, Stan, because you can make a change in your Board of Education and you can make a change in your City Council as long as you're not challenging the law. You know what I'm saying? Then you're gonna have some issues.
Challenging, make that more plain for me. What do you mean challenging a law?
Well, you can challenge policy.
Mm-hmm.
You can challenge rules and regulations, but when you can challenge the law.
You
but
can
that's
change the law.
It's a different process. You're going to run into a lot of obstacles, especially if people are benefiting from it.
Well, that is true.
From the way that it is right now.
Right, but that's just gangsterism.
And well, you have it.
Which is there's plenty of gangsters in government. I
was talking to an attorney in New Haven last week. I went with Chris to see some of the people that were wrongly convicted, and we're out there speaking about their personal
horror stories.
Yes, their personal horror stories is right. And this old white guy, he said to me, he said, "Well, these young judges will never reverse a ruling by an old judge because they'll never get their stuff passed. It just doesn't happen. So it's entrenched.
It is entrenched, but it didn't get that. It wasn't always entrenched.
I agree.
And I was talking to somebody at an event, maybe 2 weeks ago, and the person was saying, talking about the powers that be here in Hartford. And in particular, one particular entity. And I said, well, they weren't always there. They weren't always there. So just like, and before them, there was someone, right? So who's coming next is the question. And the next depends upon y'all. Because remember, all government is local. And I don't think people really understand it. So you and I were talking about a couple weeks ago the town committee. Now the town committee nominates everybody, even like the John Larsons and the Blumenthals. They are nominated by town committee people. You can't get any more local than that. So town committee people run for office. So you could get a group of your citizens from your district to run for town committee. Get out there, knock on the doors, get the votes and such, and now you're the new town committee in that district. And then you put people forward that you want. You then determine, well, are we going to give votes to Chris Murphy? We're going to give votes to John Larson, whatever the case is. Senator McCauley, Mayor so-and-so, City Council person so-and-so, Treasurer so-and-so, probate judge so-and-so. All of these decisions in terms of whether the party gets behind somebody are made on the local level. So the very first elected officials that should be held accountable for everything is the town committee person. So is the town committee person there to serve themselves and their interests, what they can get, or the community and the citizens that elected them? They are elected officials.
Well, for me, Stan, all politics and all government is definitely not local. Mm-hmm. What the locals do is they do the bidding of the big government, and that's it.
That's backwards.
The big government lets you make a couple rules and regulations, but you ain't changing, you ain't making no laws, nothing substantial like that ever, period, done.
So we're talking the difference between what should or could be and
what is.
What is.
Exactly.
What is.
And what it is now is that all politics is played at the top.
And
you know what I'm saying?
And then the party line.
It filters down.
Filters down.
It trickles down, like Reagan used to say. Mm-hmm. It trickles down because we're not making any substantial changes. Rules and policies don't trump laws, and then local and state laws don't trump federal law. Mm-hmm. We just got to keep that. If you keep that in mind, you understand what a real power is. Your power comes with aligning with the power, unless you establish your own power, and that's what I'm saying that we could do. We can have our own power base and be at the same level as the federal government in terms of influence. And then we can talk, about all power is local, because now the locals really have power, you know. But right now we have none at all. Period. We can, elect the mayor, but nobody's got to go. Nobody's got to go through the process of being given the Republican or the Democrat nomination. You can go right to the top and bypass all of that.
You can run as a petitioning candidate.
Exactly. So, there is a way to do it.
Yeah.
But nobody really has had, when you establish a base of power, that you can do all of that without their nomination, you're going to see them running to your table.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the way you're doing things now, Stan, you can accept all the nominations that they want to give you, as long as you remind them and move like you're working for the community.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I will always be one who works for the community.
That's beautiful.
Right. So in my mind,
yeah,
we're going to win.
Well, in my mind, we already won.
Right. So the question is, what level of access will you have once I'm in office? That to me kind of is the question. So,
what kind of level of access will you have?
Right.
In terms of, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to be like a smaller version of Obama. Obama could have got a lot of more stuff done if party politics were put aside.
Mm-hmm.
I think the country, the Republicans, the Democrats, and in between, we could have moved, many years forward.
I think his vision was much, much, much broader. I think he came and they took him into the seventh sub level and told him how this is going to play out.
Well,
that's why I think they take you down to, now that you are here. Let's tell you, this is where we are on the big chart. This is where we're going to be. Now, here's what you are going to be allowed to do.
And we have some bureaucracies within our government that are out of control. As crazy as it sounds, two of the best things that we can do with big government is get rid of the FBI and the CIA. They've committed a lot of crimes and continue to commit crimes. They've conducted acts of terrorism on domestic territory.
These are undeniable truths.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so they need to be taken down, because now they do whatever they want and can't nobody check them. And it's going to be nearly impossible to take them down.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people who run them, and this is, and I say this on this show all the time. In my country, in Borinquen, we say, el que hizo la ley, hizo la trampa. He who made the law made the trap, the way to get out, the loophole, like they say. So we don't know that. I talk about language. We didn't create this language. We're not going to master it. We're going to learn how to spell and read and stuff. We didn't create this language. And it's the same thing with the laws. We had nothing to do. And every law in this country, once again, is based on the Constitution. And once again, we had nothing to do with the creation of that document. You know what I'm saying? We have to rewrite that. So it all is going to come back to the same thing, Stan. No matter what conversation we have, it's about rebuilding.
Well, it's
about rejuvenating.
All right. Well, let's get some feedback. We got a caller. Caller, are you there? Hello. How come I can't hear the caller? Oh, hold on, caller, hold on. There we go. Maybe now. Can you hear us? Hello. Interesting. Hello? They're not there.
You may
All
have
right,
lost.
call back. Call back. What time is it? We got time. Somebody was trying to call. I was trying to get him on before we leave.
So I want to go back, Stan, to something I said earlier, because you look kind of stunned when I said it.
What was that?
when I said that the profit that people will get paid is whatever they build, whatever they create, is going to be based on how beneficial and for how long is going to be beneficial to the planet. So when you build a house, when you build an apartment building, when you build a work building,
right.
You know, how is that going to be?
All right. Well, caller, you're live.
Good morning, Stan. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Good morning to you and Louise too, as well.
Good morning.
All right. Just one question I had to ask you, Louise. You mentioned something about you are in the cannabis business. Is that's the same cannabis that's the marijuana straight out and not the hemp? And the only reason why I wanted to bring this up is if I was ever deciding to go into selling marijuana, I would have to sell the hemp product. I couldn't sell the outright marijuana probably that you sell and the type of marijuana that's being sold on the streets. And there's so many misconceptions about marijuana. People say it's a crop that's grown from the ground. The Rastafarians believe in marijuana, saying we all need to smoke marijuana. There's no problems with marijuana. And despite the fact that I thought marijuana, once it became legalized, it would pretty much knock out the black market. And then last week, some college student from UConn ends up having a large sum of marijuana in his vehicle, and he ends up being killed. So I could never participate in a drug, even if it's legal, that somehow is going to do harm to people. And I don't know if that bothers your consciousness, or you think it should bother. I know it should bother people that's selling the hard drugs, but what's your take on the difference of marijuana and the hemp form of marijuana, if you know anything about the hemp form?
Yeah, well, brother, first of all, thank you for your feedback, and your questions are incredible. The first thing that I would say to you is that there was a point in time in the cannabis business where it was dangerous, when it was corporate, and even gangster to some level, because gangsters, you know, the Mexican cartels and what have you, were involved in it. But cannabis has become completely community now, and people who engage in violence in the cannabis community are kind of cut out of the picture immediately. Nobody wants to put up with that nonsense, because cannabis is a healing plant. And the difference between hemp and cannabis is very little, and they're both are incredible plants. The major difference that I would tell the audience is that cannabis, or marijuana, or flower as we call it, has THC, and where hemp has a very, very small amount of THC, where is completely non-active, and is used for both plants have incredible uses in the textile, in the medicine. And you know, people should know that hemp, if you're going to build a house, there isn't a better product in the world to build your house with than hemp. It's fireproof, it's mold proof, it's stronger than steel and concrete, and it has so many benefits. It's very cooling in the summer, and it's very warm in the winter. You know, it's insulating, and so I think that for people from the Caribbean and other islands, that's an incredible way to go when you want to build something. So thank you for those questions, brother, man. And you know, if you have anything else, you know, I'm more than happy to answer them for you. And I do sell cannabis, but I sell them in safe venues. There's a couple places in Hamden where we can sell with the permission of the mayor and the police chief, so we can travel there safely, back and forth safely, and set up our stuff and sell safely. I want to bring it to Hartford. I would like to have something like that set up in Hartford. I'm in conversation with some people, but I'm more interested in making sure that the community has access to the baseball stadium. And I don't know how long you've been listening to the show, brother, but earlier I mentioned that baseball stadium should be a flea market for vendors who create things or who sell things, you know, once a week, we have an opportunity to go there and set up a table for $25 and do what we do. You know what I'm saying? And it generates, income, money in the community. It helps the vendors. It helps the buyers. It's a win-win all around. So I think that the idea of setting up a flea market is something that I would like for the community to give us some feedback about that also.
I think that's a great idea about the flea market at the stadium. Final shout-outs?
Yes, man. I spoke to Eugenio Caro. He's been under the weather. He's back up and running. And shout out to my neighbor and my mentor, Lou Brown. Brother, I hope you're having a great day. And Victor Quiñones, the Domino's champion, man. I love you, brother. I hope you're having a great day, man. And to my community, make the best of your day and make every opportunity count. Peace, family.
All right. One more time before we go. Mayoral Candidate Forum, June the 22nd, 2023. For those of you watching this in the future, which is now the past for some.
This stuff is just a formality. Yeah. I just want everybody to know that J. Stan McCauley is now, as of today, the official mayor of Hartford, Connecticut. J. Stan. Well, congratulations, brother.
Thank you. I received that in the spirit in which it was given.
Yes,
and
let's make it happen.
And I walk in that. Walk in that. But just to give everybody the illusion of fairness, the optics of it, we will continue with the forums. We'll continue with the forums. You got to do the dog and pony show. Like when they bring out a new person for.
I want to be there when all these dudes in one of these forums, they just all turn around towards you and say, "Stan, we're all going to support you. You're the best man for the job." I want to see some courage displayed by these candidates and say, "Stan McCauley, you're the best candidate, and we're going to support you for mayor." When you run, here's the real face of people who love Hartford. After Stan becomes mayor, all of his opponents show up at his office and say, "Brother, where and when do you need me? How can you use my skill set?" That's what a person who loves Hartford will do. After Stan is mayor, you come to his office and you say those words, and you will have our respect. Because then we'll know that you really care about this city. Because no matter who's mayor, when that person wins, we still got to try to support him as best as we can. Even if it's holding them accountable and criticizing them once in a while because you don't feel like they're up to par at that time.
You absolutely need to hold accountable.
Yes.
That's a important part of the job. 114 Vernon Street, Hartford, Connecticut. Event will take place at the Trinity College in the Cornelia. Is that right? Cornelia Center.
That's another racist institution, just Cornelia for the record.
Center.
Another racist institution that has done very little. Okay, very, very little. Compared to what it could do, it's done casi nada, next to nothing.
Casi nada.
And we're having a forum there because the organizer of these events don't have the common sense to have these events in community venues. Community venues. Not these white people venues where we're not even welcome. Let's get it right, family.
All right, my friends. We'll see you next week. Bye.